Welcome back to Still Here. In the last episode, I spoke about the difference between understanding dementia clinically and experiencing it as a daughter. I talked about the moment when my professional knowledge and my personal life began to meet in ways I hadn't expected. Today, I want to talk about something many families experience before a diagnosis is ever made. These are the things that just sort of come together or more clearly understood after years and years of dealing with dementia, or after multiple visits with a doctor. But I feel this is essential to know in the beginning because it makes us feel less lost in the process. When we start to notice patterns, we start to feel the tension between reassurance and concern. It is that moment, or more often, that period, when something begins to feel different. When people think about dementia, they often imagine a clear starting point. A day when something obvious happens. A dramatic lapse in memory, or a moment of confusion that makes everything suddenly clear. But for most families, including mine, it doesn't begin that way. More often, it begins quietly. A question repeated later in the same conversation. A story told twice in an afternoon. Task that once felt simple, suddenly taking longer than expected. As I have said in the previous episode, each moment by itself is easy to explain. We all forget things sometimes. We lose our train of thought. Aging, stress, distraction. These are many reasons. Memory can feel less reliable. What makes families uneasy is not a single moment. It is the slow accumulation of them. It's the subtle sense that something has shifted. Even if you can't yet explain exactly what that shift is. At that early age, when something feels different, but nothing is certain, can be one of the most confusing parts of this experience. Families often tell me they start replacing visits in their minds afterward. Did she ask that question earlier? Was that confusion new? Am I reading too much into this? As a clinician, I've heard those questions many times. As a daughter, I found myself asking the same questions. My mom visited me one time. She doesn't come often, maybe once a year. The distance is quite significant. But anyway, I noticed when she said she was going to the bathroom, she opened a few doors. The linen closet, the closet where the washer and dryer were, and another closet that housed the hot water tank. I did not think much of it. I convinced myself that it was because she was not familiar with my apartment. But did it linger in my head? Absolutely. Was I vigilant of it happening again? You bet. We start thinking of these experiences more often. We start thinking of these experiences in a different way. Not with alarm, not with certainty. Just with a quiet awareness that something might be changing. And that awareness, subtle, difficult to name, is where many families first begin to realize that something feels different. As difficult as this stage can be, it is also where attentiveness begins. Families start noticing small shifts, even when they're unsure what they need. That noticing often comes from a place of care, from wanting to understand what is happening to someone you love. If you find yourself in that place, questioning what you're seeing or replaying conversations afterward, you're not alone in that experience. Many families begin here in this quiet period of uncertainty. Over time, those observations often lead to conversations with physicians, evaluations, and sometimes a diagnosis. That moment when uncertainty becomes something more defined, can bring its own mix of relief, fear, and new questions. In our next episode, we'll talk about that moment, what it means to receive a diagnosis of dementia, and what it often changes and doesn't change for families. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Wherever you are in this experience, I hope these conversations bring a little more understanding and remind you that you're not alone in it.